This is people in my house. All right, okay, we're started now. So the today is about how can organizations prepare leaders of all levels to respond in a crisis. What are your guys' thoughts on the discussion?
I could start. So for me, I think the team that I work with at my current job, we deal with crisis quite a bit, and I think for us it really depends on what the crisis is. But I think how a organization prepares the leaders for a crisis is to I would say throw them out throw them out there in the fire and see what they do the first time. For me, that's how I've learned and been able to grow the most, was being kind of just, hey, here's the situation, deal with it, and then we'll talk about it after. I think it varies on what kind of crisis it is, but if it's something that's not as major, I would say the best way is to just throw somebody out there, see how they handle it, and then that I feel like that's how you learn the most, is through experience. So I think it's up to the organization to provide those experiences, and I think the other piece is having the support. So if they're in a crisis, they could turn to other people from different teams that could support them and provide them with guidance.
Yeah, I like that. Like, one other thing, I think it's like really important to lay out guidelines for people. Like, if this were to happen, this is what we follow, and like to give everyone, like in my company, it would be like everyone has a specific role. Like, I work in a factory, if the factory caught on fire, this is your job. Your job is to make sure everyone gets out. Your job is to make sure that help is called. Your job is this, your job is that. Because if you don't give everyone specific roles for a crisis, then something may not be covered. And then, like, what if no one calls for help because everyone thought someone else did?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with what you guys saying. Just adding to what Amy said, everybody knowing its role, very important. I don't work for a company that deals with crisis, and I haven't in the past, other than just an issue with snow, but that was pretty much it. But I think it's very important, like Amy mentioned, to know your role whenever something comes up, a certain situation, crisis situation, that everybody's ready, everybody knows what to do, everybody knows what the first step is, and to dealing with the issue and resolving as quick as possible. So, and most important, the leader needs to be there, making sure that everybody, is on track and everybody knows what they have to do. Because if the leader is not there for that, then everything is going to go wrong, completely wrong. So,
Have you guys ever dealt with a crisis?
No, like I did work at a factory and it did catch on fire. That, and I feel like they weren't as prepared. Like, the leaders weren't as prepared as they could have been. Like, I was at my press and I was like, it's getting like really smoky in here. Why is it so smoky? And then the guy at the press next to me ran over. He just started running to whatever press caught on fire, and I was like, what's going on? And it, like, the whole entire factory had smoke before anyone even pulled the fire alarm or told anyone to get out. And the thing, everybody who's a leader there is trained as a trained first responder, but they still like didn't know what to do. And it was just the weirdest thing for me.
yeah, I personally have not really been through a crisis. I believe the worst one, I mean, the only one that I've actually been through was really a snow crisis, because in Georgia, I live in Georgia, and here we're not really used to snow. We barely get any snow during the winter, and when we do, the whole city shuts down. It's like it's 1 inch or 2 inches, and the whole city freaks out. So we're not really prepared. for snow, but when we do have a little bit, everything closes down. So back in the day when I used to work at this restaurant, and it really snowed a lot that year, and the whole city closed down for a whole week. So that was the only crisis that we had to go through. My manager wasn't really ready for that, so he didn't know how to manage that issue, and so pretty much some of the employees had to step in and help him out. So yeah.
Yeah, for me, I work at a tech company in Silicon Valley in California, Bay Area, and we have a lot of buildings in Cupertino, and there was a active shooter type situation in a neighborhood that was surrounding a bunch of buildings, and we had to respond to that with. It was like later in the evening, it was around 7 o'clock at night, and I had just gotten promoted to a manager position, so I had no clue what exactly was the proper steps to responding. I just kind of rolled with what I felt like was right, and it was a huge deal. There was a lot of different aspects of how we needed to respond to help protect employees and things like that. And one of the directors of our group got involved and was pretty intense. So it was one of those situations that you learn a lot from, and I feel like that's kind of how I feel. A lot of leaders should learn how to respond in a crisis and learn from it afterwards.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's really important, like to learn from it afterwards. Like I worked for I have my EMT license, and I worked with like this ambulance company, and like after every call, you would go in and have a meeting and evaluate what you did, what you could have done better, like how the outcome could have changed, just so you could, because I mean, every time you're responding to an emergency, it's a crisis. And I just really like that they made everybody go over, okay, this is what I did, this is what I could have done differently, but this worked out really well. We could have involved this person here, and maybe the process would have gone faster. Because evaluating is one of the most important parts of at the end of any crisis.
Mm.
Now, what do you guys think about BP and with the BP oil spill and the failures of crisis communication or their issues faced?
So I'll start off. So I think obviously there was a lot of issues there involving the CEO, a lot of communication issues, but I also see a lot of ethical issues. Him by kind of taking a vacation in the middle of the crisis, not really giving, a damn. Sorry, I used that word. Not really giving a damn about it, especially about the families that lost, their loved ones. About lying to the media and the whole country about how many barrels were actually being spilled in the ocean. So yeah, I see a lot of not just communication, mostly communication, but a lot of ethical issues in that situation. And I don't know if he ended up stepping down, but he should have. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just showed how comfortable certain people can get in organizations once they're at a certain level, and forgetting to do a lot of the basic things to support your company. And I think that was a good example of it, not being there to support and kind of just looking the other way and not really addressing issues that should have been addressed beforehand.
Yeah, I think just mentioning the support part that you said, just to add a little bit, like he said when he was being interviewed on I think Congress, he pretty much, they asked him about the drilling of the well, and it pretty much just took a step back and just said, "Hey, I'm not an engineer. I don't know." It pretty much is showing that he doesn't have his staff's back. You know, he's not there to support you. You know, so pretty much you are on your own. I am your leader, but I'm not gonna you know help you in that case. So you take the fall, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think something else that I remember from the video was how they mentioned that BP had a bad record. They grew too fast and they took too many risks. I think that you know, when there's greed involved and money, they're gonna, you know, they're trying to save costs wherever they can, because obviously they want the profits. And I think, you know, they paid the ultimate consequence for that, and it ended up biting them. But because I think that you have to take care of your people first, and in the end, obviously, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree, like, one of the ethical issues is, like, he was like, I just want my life back when so many people died. And I'm like, your life back, so you mean going back on your vacations, which you already went on in the middle of this, so you still have your life. But I feel like there was a ton of ethical issues with this. Especially, like he said, to the families in the area, he was like, it's just a drop in the ocean, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, he's not at all thinking about the families, and he's not completely at all thinking about the animals that, you know, he's killing. So
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. Hopefully, I don't know if he resigned or not, but hopefully he did resign from that organization, but probably not. Are there any closing thoughts?
Not for me.
I'm good too.
Not for me. All right. And then, okay, so this is our last discussion. I was just seeing if that was Alex, but it's not. All right, that's our last discussion. Then I'll save it and submit it. Good luck on your graduation, and good luck on your future careers, I guess.
You guys too. Good working with you guys.
All right.
You guys as well.
Yep.
Take care.
It was a great